And let's talk about our first topic. I want to talk about, what I've got in my background. And the background here is Mile High Comics. This is just one row of like 5 or 10 of these things, I think. We're talking 500,000 comics right here in this picture. And Chuck's got 5 million sitting in that warehouse. And he came on here. I'm sure some of you guys, if not all of you, saw it. He was really passionate about the need for a retailer or a seller of comics, rather, to take control of their destiny and not only own their stock and back issues, but also maybe own some property. Okay. And, I know some people that have some strong feelings on it. So we're going to go around the panel here. We're going to talk about back issue strategies real quick. Tell me what your back issue strategy now, or your most recent one, is when you sold comics. And I'm going to start with Mike Hansen.
Well, until very recently, as regular viewers have heard me say to death by now, I worked at a local independent bookstore, and I was the comics guy there. And we did have a pretty robust back issue selection, but very limited space to display it. So what I needed to do was be really cutthroat and really ruthless about pricing in order to generate as much turnover in that section as possible. So I didn't look at Overstreet. I didn't look at anything except for online prices. I looked at Mile High. Usually that was well above market for us. I mean, we're an isolated area. I looked at mycomicshop.com, and I looked at what things sold for as far as recent eBay sales. And basically, I just priced all my back issues based on that. Just made it real simple: $2, $3, $4, $5. More than that, I considered listing it online to get it to move quicker, because I did all the shipping at the store too. So it was pretty quick.
Okay. So that was your selling strategy. How about buying? Were you like guided or using your process to figure the price and then paying a percentage, or are you doing flat price buying? How do you buy a collection?
If it was a small enough stack of comics and I had the time that day, I would usually just get an idea of what the best books were, what I would price them at, figure out kind of a general bulk price for the rest, and then offer a percentage of that in cash or in trade. And that store, they would generally offer about double in trade what they would do in cash. But, it really depended on the product. I mean, if it's something that is going to sell quickly because it's hot, and the seller, they're looking for a little more, or they want to negotiate a little, I can bump it up because I know I'm going to, still make my money quickly, and then I can just reinvest that into something else. But the thing about a small bookstore is that you never know what people are going to trade in. I mean, you could say that really about anyone who deals in used product. So that's another reason you really have to be cutthroat in order to keep it moving.
Okay, great. Hey, Leaf Smith, man, you're in San Francisco. You used to sell primarily new product. I don't remember seeing a lot of back issues in there in the beginning when I started shopping with you. And over the years, I've seen you trying all kinds of new things, man, trying new ideas, rental ideas for trade paperbacks, and selling a lot of used trade paperbacks and comics and stuff. So talk about your back issue strategy. How do you do it there in San Francisco and make it work?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a very reader-focused store, and not really dabbled in the back issues. I've really tried to minimize my sort of overstock. I have gotten into doing used books, graphic novels, and a little bit of graded books. But really, I find that my local customer base is not really interested in back issues very much. They're either very impatient and they're going straight to eBay and they're not looking, they're not like going for the hunt, or they're buying it in some other format, be it, a trade collection or in a digital format. I do get the tourists from the East Coast or things looking for back issues, but it's not enough for me to really devote too much of my business to.
Okay, great. Okay, I can tell from his devilish grin that Dennis Barger has a different take on this subject. Dennis, you're a back issue guy primarily, right? Although I hear from some sources that you might still dabble in new comics, especially of the variant grade, and might be getting diamond product. Why don't you hip us to your back issue strategy and tell us about new product and old product?
Well, I've had a philosophy, you know, from the day I opened. I said I want to look like I've been open for 6 months the first time a customer walks in on day one. So I actually stocked my store with between 3 to 6 back issues of every book that I was currently going to be carrying on the shelf, along with dollar boxes and some key books and stuff like that. But to me, I think one of the things, and I want to break this down into 2 pieces here. I know we're going to keep it quick. But one of the things is that I think the industry sells itself short on is not what they call a back issue and the constant turns of, you know, oh, I got to sell through this on issue 1 and I got to cut my orders to 10% over on issue 2 and be within 5% margin on issue 3. And that's where I'm like Sir Mix-a-Lot. I come up and retrieve it. You know, I'm sitting there. I order my issue 1s, and then when the entire industry, not the entire industry, but most of them, cut those orders bone dry for issue 2, man, I am in there. I'm upping my order. And guess what? I'm getting quadruple, septuple, 10 times for issue 2. I mean, all new Wolverine 2, where X-23, I just looked over some old records. We're getting $50 a piece for that issue.
That's a G.I. Joe. That's a G.I. Joe number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. It's happened with Aquaman 3 from the New 52. It happened with Nightwing 4. You know, the industry cuts those orders bone dry.
Okay, Dennis, I think that's a great point. So Dennis is working a contrarian kind of strategy, going against patterns that he's seeing established, weaknesses in the patterns of a lot of direct market orders. He's looking for those weaknesses to exploit it to get a higher margin on those products. I think that's pretty interesting. Timmy, though, hey, Timmy.
Hey.
New kid on the block. What are you doing with back issues? What is a back issue to you anyway, man? Like
this way.
Yeah.
I want to own all the comic book stores because it's more avenues for back issues. I live for back issues. I'm very back issue driven. Just like Dennis when he first opened up, that's how my first little store was. It had the last 6 months of releases, it had discount dollar books, and it also had a lot of keys. I made sure to stock my store with keys. I come from a small business background. My old man owns a surplus store, excuse me. And ever since I was a wee lad, he'd be buying used surplus gear, clothes, other collectibles, you know, guns, whatever. And it's buying is the same when it comes to a store like that. The mentality and the math is really just all the same. But just like Mike, when it comes to pricing, me and him are very similar. You know, it's eBay, it's the current live market, what's sold in the last 2 months. The thing with collections is, you know, it really varies for me. If it's just a bunch of keys, you know, like Mike said, credit prices, cash prices, there's a certain percent. But same thing can be done with bulk. And it, yeah. Am I still there? Have you cut me off yet?
Sorry, buddy.
No worries. Yeah, you know, I'm always an honest guy. I always tell people what they got. You know, I never want to be the guy who screws over the old lady and, you know, buys her first appearance of Supergirl for $5 and, you know, haha, look at me. And when I tell them this, and then I offer my price, you know, my 20, 30, 40% cash, whatever it is, and the credit price, they're always like, but you just told me it's this, it's worth this. Yeah, but I'm also giving you straight cash right now, or, you know, a check that's going to clear in seconds, you know, or I can PayPal you, Venmo you, whatever. But also, you're not having to worry about eBay. You're not having to worry about the fees.
Big time, of course.
You know,
yeah.
Instead processing it. And when you really lay it out for them, they totally get it. And that's why I love having 2 stores now, because I'm buying 3 to 5 on average a week, great collections.
Yeah.
And the profit's there. And now with Corona, with closed stores and no new comics coming in, all my back issues that I always thought were, you know, after I made my money back on a collection and now there were whatever, I'm going through long boxes, looking at something and go, well, this doesn't look so bad to me anymore, straight to the eBay. And next thing I know, my employees have a paycheck. So
Oh, Timmy, well, man, it's like you're queuing me up for our next topic. So, but I want to, before we go there, which we'll get there in a second, I just want to say my strategy back when I was doing comics, I was still buying. My thing was I will buy any comic you bring in my store, and I will pay 5 cents for any comic you bring in my store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And that's for current or newer stuff. If it was older stuff, I would go through it, but I would still often work out a flat price, because even on an old 70s collection or whatever, there's 1 or 2 key gems in there, maybe that you could sell, maybe if it's in decent condition and you could flip it. But the labor of grading and bagging and boarding, I would often end up at I'll give you $1 each for everything you've got here.
Well, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, Dennis, please.
The average long box price right now in bulk is about $20 a long. And I've never understood the logic of a comic shop that, oh, we don't deal in back issues. No offense, Lee. We don't deal in back issues. We don't deal in back issues. And it's this like robotic, response. Dude, for $20, you can donate 100 comics for a short box, or 250 for a long box. You can donate them to a school with your sticker on them. There's a million things you can't do with $20. And a long box full of comic books for $20, you can do a lot of things. And it never.
I love that there's a picture of long boxes right next to Dennis's face when he's saying that, because it's the truth, man. It's a lot like owning your own property. When you own a back issue, you got choices, right? If you own a property, you can open your own store. You could rent it out. You could subdivide it. You could burn it down for the insurance money. I wouldn't do that, but that's an option, right? Okay, so